Hey there, it's JVL from the Bulwark, and I wanted to talk very briefly about why some of us are so concerned about Joe Biden going forward as the Democratic Party's nominee. It's not because we don't like Joe Biden. I'm Joe Biden's number one super fan. I was pro Biden before it was cool. I was the crazy guy running around in the spring of 2019 saying, "Don't talk to me about Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren and Pete Buttigieg. Joe Biden is going to be the nominee because he's the vice president of the single most popular figure in the Democratic Party, Barack Obama, and that the vice president of a popular two-term president does not lose his party's nomination when he runs for president." Anyway, people forget that Joe Biden sort of led that race wire to wire. There was the weird screw up with the Iowa caucuses. He finished distant fifth in New Hampshire, but there was, favorite son stuff happening there with Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren. And then he came roaring out in South Carolina, which was always the plan. Anyway, all my bona fides established here. I think Biden has been a very good president, one of the best first terms of a presidential administration in my lifetime, and is currently our greatest living president, I would say. Biden superfan. All of that said, if you take it that Biden's most important mission, the most important thing he has left to do is beat Trump again, it's not clear to me that he's the best guy positioned to make that case and wage an aggressive campaign going forward. And I went and I did some looking at what Biden looked like in the past, and it's a little dispiriting. So come back in time with me and let's go back to the 2012 Democratic National Convention, where Biden gave probably the single best speech of that convention, possibly not as good as Bill Clinton's speech. Bill Clinton gave a barn burner as well. But just look at this clip. And I understand it's 12 years ago, but look at Joe Biden at the Democratic National Convention.
Bravery resides in the heart of Barack Obama, and time again, I witnessed him summon it. This man has courage in his soul, compassion in his heart, and a spine of steel. And because of all the actions he took, because of the calls he made, because of the determination of American workers, and the unparalleled bravery of our special forces, we can now proudly say what you've heard me say the last 6 months. Osama bin Laden is dead and General Motors is alive.
That, my friends, is called beast mode. That was amazing, right? It gives you goosebumps, right? Osama bin Laden is dead and General Motors is alive. That guy was an absolute animal. So again, time passes all of us. I'm not the guy I was 12 years ago. I get that. Then we go to the debate, the first debate he had with Donald Trump in 2020. I'm passing over the debates he did, the Democratic debates in 2020, where he was also very, very good. People forget this. Biden had fantastic debates. He won every debate he was in. He was incredibly sharp, showed total command. And this, we're talking about 2019 and 2020. And here we are with Joe Biden facing Donald Trump. And Biden did this thing. He was frequently talking straight to camera, talking directly to voters, incredibly empathetic, in total command of his fastball. And here he is dealing with Donald Trump being an obnoxious a-hole.
You should go out and vote. You're in voting now. Vote and let your senators know how strongly you feel. Vote now.
Are you going to pack the
Make
court?
sure you, in fact, let people know
He doesn't want
you're a
to answer the
senator.
question.
I'm not going to answer the question
Why
because
wouldn't you answer that
because
question?
the question
You want to put a lot of new Supreme Court justices, radical left.
Will you shut up, man?
Listen,
Will you shut up, man? Isn't that great? It's perfectly dismissive. He's strong. He's together. He's got it all. Again, that's 4 years ago. Now we jump back to March in Biden's State of the Union address. And again, it was just a fantastic speech. He did a great job. I understand it's a telepromptered speech, and I'm going to show you a clip from the beginning of that. But also, don't forget, he did some great ad-libbing there. I mean, he was the guy who was just spoiling for the fight and really enjoyed getting down into it, getting down in the trenches and actually waging politics and doing campaigning. Here he is, State of the Union, just this year.
Not since President Lincoln and the Civil War have freedom and democracy been under assault at home,
as there are today. What makes our moment rare is that freedom and democracy are under attack both at home and overseas. My predecessor and some of you here seek to bury the truth about January 6th. I will not do that. This is the moment to speak the truth and to bury the lies. Here's the simple truth. You can't love your country only when you win.
All right. And then we have the debate. Now, people say that the people who really want to stick with Biden, that, hey, it was just one bad debate. I don't think so. A bad debate is when you get outmaneuvered. A bad debate is when you seem disinterested. George H.W. Bush famously looked at his watch in the middle of the debate. Al Gore had like bad tactics in which he stalked around behind George W. Bush during his debate. That was a bad debate for Al Gore. I think that the deepest problem for Biden is that this was less of a debate and more like a health event, because what people saw was categorically different than anything Biden had been showing, again, up until like 6 months ago.
Make sure that all those things we need to do, child care, elder care, making sure that we continue to strengthen our healthcare system, making sure that we're able to make every single solitary person eligible for what I've been able to do with the with the COVID, with dealing with everything we have to do with, look, if we finally beat Medicare.
Yikes. That's hard to watch. I mean, it's hard to watch for any human being, I think. If you're a person with empathy and feelings, you're not a sociopath, it's tough to watch that. It's especially hard to watch if you are a Joe Biden superfan. It's double especially hard to watch if you're counting on Joe Biden to be out there campaigning every day for the next 118 days, hitting Donald Trump over and over again, and having to climb out of a not insignificant hole in the polling. The Biden campaign said it was just one bad day, and since then we've gotten more of him. We saw him do a bunch of events. He did a brief set of scripted remarks following the Supreme Court's rendering of its decision that Donald Trump can be a king if he would like to. And we've seen him do a little bit of extemporaneous speaking. He was in Pennsylvania over this past week, and this is what it looked like there.
And I feel like every time I come back to Pennsylvania, I feel like I'm coming home. No. I was born and mostly raised in Scranton, as we say in Scranton. And I married a Philly girl, Julie from Philly. But I tell you what, after I went to a local parade, in a little place called Hocassin, Delaware, right on the Pennsylvania border after our son had passed. And I was sitting at home thinking it was his favorite parade, so I decided just to go into it. And I was walking along in this small community, and four guys about your size came running up to me. I thought the Secret Service was going to kill them. And they came running up, swear to God, true story. He said, "Joe, what's all this damn stuff about Pennsylvania? You're from Delaware. You're from Delaware." Yeah, but it never leaves you. Never. Anyway.
All right. Now, I understand he looks a little bit rambling here. I actually think this is a huge improvement over the debate because he's able to be folksy. This is kind of always been his move, starting to tell one story and then transitioning into another story and then not quite finishing that story before he rolls into the next one. And that's good. And you see he's a little bit fired up here too. But it's better, but it's not great, right? I mean, this is not necessarily the war horse that you want to be riding when the fate of the Republic is hanging on it. If Tim Scott or Nikki Haley were the Republican nominee and it was somebody who just had bad policies that you didn't like, who was going to appoint, conservative judges who were going to do things that you don't like policy-wise, then you're like, okay, fine. We'll just roll the dice with this. This is the guy who got us here. He's been a good president. Let's show some faith, show some trust in him. Because the thing is, with Tim Scott or Nikki Haley, there will be a free and fair election in 2028. That's not what's on the table. And when you're looking at playing for real stakes, real like Democratic backsliding, Does the country want to dabble in some light authoritarianism? When you're looking at that sort of thing, I think you probably would want to do a little more due diligence and understand whether or not you've got the candidate who can wage the most aggressive, most complete campaign day after day, hour after hour, all the way through without another bad debate, if you know what I mean. It's tough, man. Believe me, it's tough. Nobody loves Joe Biden more than I do. Well, maybe Jill. Okay, maybe Jill and Hunter. But after them, after people who are directly blood related to Biden, nobody loves the guy more than I do. But this is concerning. If you want more, go head over to thebulwark.com, subscribe to our YouTube channel. See you next time.